Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Phins Forecast. I'm your host today, Anthony Pinzone, alongside with Josh, aka Aqua Ace. We have a lot to talk about with our Miami Dolphins. We bounced back in this one after a tough loss against the Texans, who look like a really bad team all of a sudden, who we should have definitely beaten. We took down the San Francisco 49ers, though, who largely watching this game, I felt like we were playing against ourselves, to be honest. It was like looking in a mirror. But we're gonna talk plenty about that. We have lots to say about this 49ers game. Then we're gonna potentially talk, playoff chances. We'll see how much time we have. We might have time. Of course, game balls and jock straps.
The best segment in sports media history.
Got to do the best segment with the best intro in sports media.
And jock straps.
And then we'll talk about the Brownies, who look absolutely horrific, but we tend to play down to teams that look absolutely horrific. So we'll talk about what to expect in Cleveland. So it's going to be cold. And we'll get to all of that stuff in just a moment. Oh, baby, do I miss that man, Jalen Phillips? But let me tell you, this boy Chop Robinson doing a great job of filling in, man.
Yes, he sure is.
Chop looking like an all-star yet again in this one. Actually he's getting media attention now. I mean, he wasn't getting media attention early, but in this game we had Tony Romo and oh god, I just drew a blank on his name.
The other guy.
Tony Romo and the other guy. His name's not important.
Nope. Sure isn't.
But they were chopping it up.
Hey.
I didn't plan that.
I think you did.
Happy accident.
That's hilarious.
They were talking about Chop Robinson. They were talking about how this guy is looking like a star already. Josh, you've sent us tons and tons of different stats about how he's just he's the highest pressure rate in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
not just amongst rookies.
Not rookies, but in the entire NFL, which is amazing.
Incredible. Listen, earlier in the year, we were all kind of like, what did we do, right? I know Steve and Keith especially were like talking about how at that high of a pick in the draft, they wanted an immediate impact. But can't blame them, right? I can't blame them. I want an immediate impact guy too.
In the offseason, you and I were like, dude, this is going to be rookie defensive player of the year.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, after the first 3 or 4 games, I was like,
he'd be lucky if he's
on
the second year.
Yeah, which I'm thrilled. I mean, that shows really big, important things, right? That not only shows him growing as a player, but that also shows that our organization did a very good job at developing him, which I think is huge.
Very huge. And that goes to Anthony Weaver, I feel like. The coaches are the ones in charge of development here. So Anthony Weaver, we've talked about him a lot this year. Newcomer to the team, new defensive coordinator, our third defensive coordinator in 3 years. So the poor defense, for as much slack as they get, they've in a third system in 3 years. That's not,
they're a top 10. They're a top 10 unit I think I saw it somewhere today.
Somehow.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, Weaver's in a lot of like potential coaching, like head coaching job.
That would be so awful for us. I mean, look, I think that's crazy in the first place. This is his first year as defensive coordinator, and he's going to get a head coaching job. Like, what?
It's a what have you done for me lately? I don't agree with it, but
yeah, it's crazy. But like that would be terrible for us too, because then that means a fourth system in 4 years, and it's like, how are you supposed to develop guys in that way? But
exactly.
Let's talk a little more about this 49ers game. So the Dolphins were victorious, 29-17. The game was a little bit closer than that. I feel like the last 2 minutes of the game, we really kind of blew it up. All of a sudden, we had guys playing like they were superstars. I'm sitting here watching it. I'm rewatching it right before we get on because I want it fresh. And I'm like, we really didn't do anything until the last 2 minutes of this game.
No, and you said it right before the intro. This was like playing ourselves. It was like playing our,
Yep.
Our defense, like in practice. It was our offense playing our defense. It was our defense playing our offense, and you could tell. And it was, I'll tell you what, it was a slog. It really was to watch it.
It was tough, man. I was tough. I remember, like, because I was in and out of watching this. I had people over for Christmas events, which is why we didn't do the show Sunday. By the way, apologies for not getting a show out Sunday and not actually saying anything on the channel. Should have done that. But I'm in and out watching this thing, and I'm thinking to myself, "Gosh, another field goal!" Like in the past, I'm sitting there begging McDaniel to kick a field goal. This one, I'm like, another one.
Can we go for it on 4th and 1, please?
Can we do something? Another field goal. I'm not feeling the field goals. But it ended up being the right call. I think when all was said and done, like as the game played out, the field goals ended up being pretty important. We managed like a 2-point lead for a long while. Then we ended up with a 5-point lead. And I gotta say, I'm thinking to myself when we kicked the field goal there in the 4th quarter to go up by 5. I'm like, what the hell does that buy us? I guess we don't lose to a field goal. I guess that's what they're thinking.
I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, so let's dive into early game here. The defense holds them to a 3-and-out to start the game, which I'm feeling like, okay, that sets the tone, right? Like their offense hasn't looked good. Like they're exactly the same. Not only are they built the same, we have the same coaching style, they come from the same coaching tree, but they have the same ailments as we have. They have a defense that is hot and cold, and they have an offense that is pretty sluggish right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course, Debo looked like he did 3 years ago against us, which was
so I actually wanted to say that. So they have an offense that's sluggish most of the time, but is capable of huge plays, just like us. And I got to say a big shout out to not only, I think Debo had a really good game, and this is the only credit I'm going to give the 49ers this whole episode before we focus on the Dolphins. But I don't get a chance to watch George Kittle a lot. That man is a very good football player.
Yeah. Quick question. This is not a 49ers podcast by any stretch, but I have a question for you about that you brought him up. I got into a huge debate with a bunch of people online, naturally.
Of course.
And I asked the question, is George Kittle a Hall of Famer? I say yes. I think his statistically, I think he lines up with, I think he's top 5, top 6, whatever it was.
Statistically, he's a Hall of Famer, I feel like.
I mean, and I got crazy backlash. So he's crazy.
I will say tight ends take a while, though, usually.
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't
that's the kind of player he is. Right? Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
I think Gronk will probably be. Is Gronk in there yet? Gronk's not eligible yet, is he?
No, I think he's eligible in 2 years, I think.
He'll probably be a first ballot somehow.
He should be. And if he's not, shame on them.
But I thought Shannon Sharp was going to be too, man.
Yeah, that's true. He was second. Did he get in the second round, or did he?
I think the second year. Yeah.
But
anyways, back to the beginning. So I really thought like getting that 3-and-out from our defense was hugely important there in that first quarter. Of course, we couldn't take advantage of it. We didn't do anything. We got a first down. Achane looking great. Achane was obviously part of the game plan. He comes out. He had 4 catches on the first drive.
Yeah.
It was nuts. So he's a huge part of it. But we didn't manage to do anything. We kick it back again. It's like looking in the mirror. It's like, here we go. This is going to be a boring game. Spoiler alert, it was a boring game. It was largely 2 teams just trying to find their way to a win somehow, some way, and not in like a good way.
Right.
But Chop and Brooks got it going early for the defense. I felt like the second 49ers drive, I think it was, they get a sack that ends up forcing a 3rd and 23, which of course they didn't get because if our defense let up a 3rd and 23, I'd be screaming. And then I gotta give credit where credit's due. Poyer actually had a big stick on the one drive. It was 3rd and I think 4. And they threw a little dump pass to Pearsall over the middle, and Poyer sticks him and gets him before the line. Of course, they ended up rushing into the line and running it for the first down anyways. But listen, we crap on him a lot. He's going to get crapped on again later. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But he had one good play. So I'm just looking for any good plays out of Poyer at this point.
I mean, at this point, yeah. From the safety position as a whole, I'll take a good play for a change.
Yeah. But Holland had one good play too, so we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Let's see what other notes did I have. Oh, the Benito Jones interception that got called back. That was
That might have been the play of the year. I love it when big guys get their
I
hands
love
on.
it. Yeah,
What, like, athletic as hell for a 300 plus pounder though. Ooh.
I was bummed. Like I didn't know if it hit the ground or not. Honestly, I couldn't tell from the angles they were showing. I was just hoping he would get the interception because it was an amazing play for a big guy.
I mean, when it's 50-50, you think they would just give it to the big fat guy who never
You
does
would think
anything.
so.
You know what I mean?
You would think so. And then we end the first quarter. By the way, I put another note that Achane looked amazing. I don't think anybody listening needs to know that. He's our best player.
Yeah, I mean, he had 120 yards on the ground and 70 reception yards. I mean, Jesus.
I mean, he even had a big catch on a traditional route. He ran a post, and boom, between three defenders. That
was the 20-yarder, right? I think it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really great. It's up and in on the post route, and Tua hits him between the linebacker, the corner, and the safety, right in the little triangle there.
I was not thrilled that Tua threw that ball. Right, because if you're throwing into triple coverage, there has to be a better option somewhere else.
You would think, but it was a zone, so maybe there wasn't. You never know.
But hey, it was a successful pass.
But listen, we ended this is not a fantasy football.
It's not, but I'll tell you this.
Podcast.
Okay, standard league, I would go Pollard. Free agents available. Spears.
People watching know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
we've been confused with a fantasy podcast.
I would be hesitant for Dobbins. I believe he's already ruled out, and Garendo, it's coming back from an injury. So I would stick between Swift and Pollard, and I would probably lean. Actually, you know what? I'd probably lean towards Swift, right? Because Pollard's going to get less carries due to.
I would play Spears over Pollard.
You think so? Tajay?
But yeah. But Swift is probably the best option. All right, back to this.
Sorry.
We ended the first quarter in true our safeties are terrible fashion. In I believe Holland with the really poor tackling lets Debo get 12 yards on a third down. I was like, come on, man. Come on. Right? Yeah. And that's just foreshadowing because early into the second quarter, after Sealer gets the sack of the year, he just really grabs Purdy by his shoe and just pulls him down.
Yeah,
which was amazing.
Talk about a shoestring tackle. Right?
He's like, I'll tie him for you while I'm down here.
Yeah.
But then the next play, Poyer and Holland both get run over by Debo Samuel for the touchdown. What's even worse is that our gajillion-dollar man, Jalen Ramsey, runs over and just dives over the play.
Yeah, doesn't even. Yeah, I don't know.
What is that? I need to look like I'm trying, but I don't actually know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna dive over the play. What is happening there?
Yeah, I'm really starting to cement my thoughts on we're gonna see a brand new safety room. There's not gonna be a single player left that is currently on our roster at the safety position.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Campbell comes back, but that would be a big maybe, I think. Big maybe, because he didn't look too good in this one either.
No, safeties as a whole looked horrible.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, let's see. Any other highlights from the second quarter? Oh, Tua throwing the ball away instead of taking a sack so that we stay in field goal range. That's how we do it. All right.
He didn't run and put his head down for no apparent reason. That was a great play, Tua.
No spinning in circles in the pocket, only to get sacked 13 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It was just throw the ball away. Beautiful thing. Loved it. And then this is the highlight, I feel like, of the second quarter because not much happened in the second quarter. Spoiler if you didn't watch the game. Chop Robinson prevents the touchdown to a wide open George Kittle in the end zone. I mean, nobody was covering George. Nobody. Purdy sees him. He throws it, and Chop just goes, whop. Yeah, and then they're forced to get a field goal there.
You could really honestly, in plays like that, you can see the pure athleticism that this man, I mean, I shouldn't call him a kid, that this man has. I mean, it's as a defensive end, right? I know he needs to work on his strength and he needs to continue to work on his various pass rush moves, which he's done a phenomenal job at. But I love the fact that we have a defensive end that can cover a tight end.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing. So, I left this purposely out, but I wanted to highlight it. I will highlight Tyreek's
Oh God.
Atrocious start to this game here. Now, he also had some dropsies in the third. So I wrote down, I literally made a section on my piece of paper that's called the Tyreek drop counter.
Oh boy.
And I kept track. There were
Mhm.
4 total for those counting. I don't know if they were all official drops, but in my mind, they're drops.
Yes.
And in the first quarter, he drops the 3rd and 10, which ends the drive. And
Mhm.
then he drops a touchdown.
Yeah, he dropped 2 touchdowns this whole game.
All right, don't blow.
Sorry.
We're
I got
gonna get
excited.
to it.
I got excited.
Spoiler alert.
Premature spoiler alerting.
People are banking on us to know what happened in this game. Probably not. That's
I got
okay.
excited that I finally knew something.
That's okay. So we went into halftime. I don't even know what the heck the score was at halftime. It was so boring in the first half. I blocked that out of my memory.
It was 13-10 Miami.
13-10 at halftime. There we go. So third quarter, we started off with another field goal. So we go up 16-10. We're up by 6 points. I don't know what that buys us. Other than that, they can't beat us by a field goal. Pearsall on the next drive for the 49ers. I wrote Pearsall was our best player on this drive.
He was. Yep.
Yeah.
Was
he had
it
3
4
penalties, I think.
Was it 4? 3 or 4?
3 or 4. 3 or 4 penalties. Tony Romo was ripping him a new one.
All of them were illegal formation because he was lined up off the ball or on the ball when he should have been.
2 plays in a row.
Yeah, it was
2
great.
in a row.
Yeah,
How do you do that? So thank you, Ricky. That was great. Jonnu with a big play, 20 yards in the third. And then I wrote, we had 2 spies on Debo for the 1 play, and he still gained 9 yards.
Yeah, he turned the clock back on this game. He looked like the Debo of old, and it was very infuriating.
He looked good. He did look good. All right, so now I'm finally to the fourth quarter, and I kind of sped through the first 3 because the first 3 were boring and not a lot happened. I think it's 16-10. What are we at here?
Yeah, 16-10.
16-10 at the end of the third quarter.
Sorry. 19-10. I can't do math.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry. 19. We got a field goal somewhere else in there. So 19-10. I don't even care.
Math. Right.
So 19-10 at the end of the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter. This is where things started to really come together for the Phins here. Because at this point, it's a game of field goals. 19-10, obviously. That means there's 2 touchdowns and 5 field goals. Quick math, I think, total. So the first thing I noted was, unfortunately, a negative. But trust me, it gets better from here. Brooks gets hurt. Duke Riley comes in. And Duke Riley's second play, he just completely doesn't cover the tight end at all. And he scores a touchdown.
No, my favorite part of that play was the replay, and when Tony Romo was like, and what is he doing? He came in 2 plays ago, and he bit on the play fake so hard that he was out of frame.
He notices how hard that he rips on Duke right there, too, and then he comes back to it and tries dropping it back a little bit. He's like, oh, it's kind of hard to read. They're doing a lot on offense. I'm like, no, it's not, dude. This is their third tight end. He's slow as molasses. He's huge. You can't miss him. And Duke just stands there. Oh, man.
You think a player, especially, yes, they do a lot of motions, right? But so do we. We do the most by a landslide in the NFL. So you think somebody that plays against this offense in practice would know better.
My question is, where is Dodson? Is Dodson out this game? Like, why would Duke come in? Because that makes no sense to me.
I think he is. I think he's out with it, like illness, or I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure he was out.
Because Walker had a rough game this game too. Honestly, I saw number 9 chasing people around a lot, or number 6.
He was pulling the Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, he was. And then it was kind of slow to start. At one point, Tua almost throws a pick. It's the laziest throw I've ever seen. Like almost like you're playing backyard football and you try to put a lot of touch on it to throw it to like a kid. Yeah, you're just like, don't push too, like, and it almost gets picked off. I'm like, what are you doing?
I know.
What are you doing? And then so the 49ers, they score on Duke Riley, so it's 19-17 at that point. We get the ball back. We do absolutely nothing. I don't know if it's a 3 and out, but we only had at maximum 6 plays in this drive, and we end up kicking it back. Then the defense does their job. They hold the 49ers as well. So we get the ball back, still 19-17. Sanders with the clutch 50-plus yarder again.
Yeah, he was
puts
awesome.
us up. He was awesome. He had a great day. 50-plus yard 3 times?
I'm looking right now.
2 or 3 times. Look it up. And we go up 22-17, which, the importance here is that we can't lose by a field goal now. Did you get that Sanders thing?
No,
still working on it.
Yeah,
still working on it.
It's going to take
It's not that important. There's 2 minutes to go. We're up 22-17. That's the important part, right? 2 minutes to go in this game, and we finally start to see some big plays. Finally.
Okay. Not that you care, but I got it.
Was it 2 or 3?
So 144-yarder, 138-yarder, 154-yarder, 133-yarder, and 148-yarder.
All right, so 1 over 50, 2 over 40, 2 over 30.
Yep.
Good day. 5 for 5. That's a good day. That's awesome. Real good day.
That's what you want from them.
So that last field goal that I just talked about, that comes with 2 minutes to go. That's like it's at 2:01 or something like that. You know, they couldn't just tick it down to the 2-minute warning, God forbid. So the 49ers get the ball back, still very much in this game. It's only a 5-point lead. They can't kick a field goal. They got to go for it. Every drive is 4 downs at this point for them. And Calais Campbell is, I don't even know how this man is 38. I feel like he's not really 38, or he's Iron Man. I don't know.
Super soldier. He's John Claude Van Damme. Yeah.
Because he absolutely just shreds up the middle between the center and the guard. He had 2 people trying to block him. Not happening. Mm-hmm. Gets his 6'8" hands up and tips the ball. It goes straight to Kader Kohou, and we get an interception, something we have not seen a lot of this year. Nope. I can't even remember the last time we got one.
No, I don't even know if we have over 10 interceptions on the season.
Do we even have over 5? Like, we seriously have very few interceptions this year.
I know.
I can't even, like, we don't have the, like, Jalen Ramsey's the only guy who intercepts the ball, and he's not very good.
Well, okay. Anyways.
I knew I'd get you going, but he's not. I'll stick on this train all the way home, baby. All right. That leads to Devon Achane capping off his fantastic day with a nice 9-yard run. He gets the ball back. He does a 2-yard run, and then he gets the ball back, and he does a 50-yard run for the touchdown.
And it was beautiful. The blocking on that was insane.
Unbelievable. Finally, a long run that doesn't get called back. This is not the first 50-yard run we've had this year, but it's probably the first 50-yard run we've had that didn't get called back.
The first one that stuck.
The first one that counted. Oh, man, it was a thing of beauty. So happy to see that. Then the 49ers, of course, get the ball back. We are up 29-17. They're down by 12. They need 2 scores. Chop Chop Baby comes in with another sack. And then Holland on 4th and 1 with the near pick 6, but he can't catch. So he just knocks it away. And that's the end of the game. There it is. Dolphins win 29-17. I hope the recap was more exciting than the game, because
it was. I can promise you it was.
Because the game was boring. Tua ended with like 215 yards passing. It was really just it was a slow burn kind of game.
You know, he had a steady game. Tua had a really steady game, right? He was 22 of 34, 215, touchdown, no sacks.
Yeah.
No interceptions. Like,
I mean, he looked good. He looked good throwing the ball. He just didn't.
He looked okay, right? I mean,
they didn't put together drives that I wish they would have.
Well, now I will say this: if Tyreek Hill,
Tyreek drops 2 touchdowns. I forgot to mention that. Good point.
I mean, 2 touchdowns and 2 other long receptions for 4 or 5 total drops. I mean, that changes the scope of this game entirely, right? I mean, we blow them out by like 48. Right. If
let me quickly go over the Tyreek drop counter. First quarter, 3rd and 10, drops a 16-yard pass.
Yep.
3rd and 9 in the first quarter again. Tua puts it on him in the end zone. He drops it.
In the numbers.
Numbers.
Like, unbelievable. Yeah. And it was a beautiful throw.
Beautiful throw. Right. Let's flash forward to the 3rd quarter, because he actually had a pretty good second quarter. He started to bounce back a little bit. I'm thinking to myself, okay, the rust is off. He's going to have a great day. No, 3rd quarter yet to come. 2nd and 4, deep ball down the sideline. An incredibly hard catch, but you make a lot of money to play receiver, son. You better catch it.
Is that the one that was tipped? That was like tipped by like the guy's like hangnail?
Sure.
Yeah.
He still touched it.
No, but it still hit him in the hands. So,
it hit him right in the hands. He would have had to get his toes down. But like, we see wide receivers paid this much money do this all the time.
Yeah.
So... And that brings me to the second drop touchdown. Same story. He couldn't see the ball, but it hits him right in the numbers. Catch it.
Yeah. I mean, if those were to happen, right? Tua has over 375 yards and he has
Yeah.
3 touchdowns. I mean, that
Right.
changes the landscape and we win, by
Yeah.
another 15, 20 points.
Yeah,
Right?
and then 2 of those field goals become touchdowns, and that's,
Right.
so that's what? That's 11 additional points. That puts us at 40? No.
Yeah. Yep.
-6 is 23, plus 11 is
Oh, yeah.
33. 33 to 17?
Right. But then don't forget that also pushes San Francisco. The trickle is San Francisco then pushes the envelope to try to catch
Right.
up. They
Right.
may turn the ball over more or something,
Yep.
then we're not in the slog and we may score more points. So that's the kind of the trickle effect to Tyreek Hill not showing up. I will say this though. I did not, in my mind watching the game, Debo was running wild over us. All like constantly.
It felt that way for sure.
But he wasn't even there. Brock Purdy was their leading rusher. So, I guess,
Yeah, he did have 7 for 96 in the air, 5 for 25 on the ground. They didn't have a great rushing attack.
No, the 81 total yards on 18 attempts. 4.5 a clip isn't bad, right? It's kind of the average in the NFL right now, but we were at 5.5 a clip, which I think was in big part due to Etienne's 50-yard.
Yeah, heavily influenced by that 50-yarder for sure.
I mean, it was good to see Mostert bang a big one. I think it was 20, 21, something like that.
Something like that.
Which was good to see. But man, he's just catching up to him. I don't know what the hell's going on with him, man.
No, me either. So let's see. It was 116 on 29 carries. So we were at 4 yards per carry before the 50-yarder.
Yeah.
Which put us at 5.5. I mean, I will say though, at least we were dedicated to the run this game. We ran the ball 30 times,
that was good,
which is good to see.
There was balance, right? Because Tua threw 34, we ran it for 30 or 30.
I truly can't believe Tua threw 34. He got nothing done for 34 passes. I mean,
well, again, through 34, he only has 215. We just talked about it.
I know, but this just goes to show that the dump pass central is everything I hate about this offense is alive and well because he completed 22 passes for 215 yards, which is 6.3 yards per attempt.
Yeah, and I know we'll get to it later in the best segment in sports media history, but I mean, I'm gonna give him. I'll probably be repetitive on this, but Jonnu, man, what a signing! I mean, arguably, right? I mean, you can think. Super Soldier and Campbell might be the best signing of the offseason for what he's brought. But I think there's a very good argument to say Jonnu Smith might be the best signing that we had this offseason.
We had so many good signings, it would honestly be hard to say.
Right?
Because I think Brooks was a really good signing too.
Oh, yeah. And Long Jr. I know he was injured, but he struggled in the beginning, but I think he's turned it around.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Brooks is 128 tackles, dude.
That's wild, dude. Yeah.
That is 44 more than Jordan Poyer, who somehow has 84.
That's because Jordan Poyer is behind every play and gets the anyways.
Yeah, I want to talk to that a little bit more, that Jordan Brooks stat. 128 tackles doesn't tell the whole story. 3 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, 5 pass deflections, 2 forced fumble recoveries, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Like, he's having a year.
Yeah. It's a huge signing. I know I remember we signed him for 2 years, right? With the team option for the second. I hope to God we take it and I hope we re-up him, right? He's
the best middle linebacker we've had since Thomas. It's not even close.
Easy. Like it's not even close. Not even close.
It's not even a conversation. But back to your Jonnu point though. I mean, what a year. He has 76 catches. He leads the team in catches.
76. He has 802 yards receiving.
Yeah,
right.
He's tied with Achane for the lead in catches on our team. That's really funny.
Now, I don't want to talk too much about him because I feel like it's going to steal my game ball.
No doubt.
Spoiler. But since we're not going to talk about them in the game balls and Jock Straps segment, I want to give a shout out to the offensive line. Held to a clean. I thought Isaiah Wynn. I know we looked it up right before the show. Looked like he split carries or split time snaps. I can't.
With Eichenberg, yeah.
With Eichenberg. And you could tell the difference between the two. And, Wynn was in on that big Achane run. You could tell he was a big blocker in that. He looked more comfortable. If he can stay healthy, which is the big thing with him, right? If he can stay healthy, I think, if we can bring him back, I think he's good. He'd be good for our offensive line. Now, are we going to? That's a whole different story, but it was nice to see him in there. And it was frustrating watching him play so well, albeit in split snaps with Eichenberg, knowing that he was suited and booted and ready to go last game when we had a practice squad player forced into those are the kind of decisions, and I'm not trying to turn a positive into a negative, but those are the kind of decisions that that really frustrate me with this coaching staff, because he's healthy. He's got a damn helmet on. He's ready to go. Why is he not playing? And why are we playing a undrafted guy that we picked up from Publix on our practice squad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I believe you're referring to Carmen Sandiego, whatever the hell his name was, last week, who I don't believe we saw him in this game, thank goodness.
No. Is that Jackson Carmen? Is that his name?
Oh, maybe. Whatever. I have no idea.
Who cares?
Doesn't matter. He's back at Publix. So, listen, if those of you who are wondering who the heck Isaiah Wynn was, I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be our starting right guard this year.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hurt in minicamp or the preseason. I don't recall which one.
Preseason.
Just activated back off of IR prior to the Houston game. Obviously, they wanted to give him more rest, so they put Jackson Carmen in instead. Yep, that worked. And so he comes back. He gets half splits here. I mean, this says to me that he's still not 100%.
No,
because they have a window. They have to take these guys off of IR. It doesn't necessarily mean they're fully healthy. But if they want them to play at all this year, they have to take them off IR in that window.
It's what they did the opposite with Chubb, right? Because Chubb's done for the season. I think they came out and said it, right?
I didn't see that, but
pretty sure.
What's the point of bringing him back?
Well, I mean, look, mathematically, and we could talk about this in a little bit. Mathematically, we're still in it, right? I mean, we need to win in Cleveland. We need to beat the Jets, which I think are both winnable games, and then we need to hold our breath and pray to every God that'll listen if we want to make the playoffs, but not that we potentially do anything while we make the playoffs, but still mathematically possible. So you think because of that fact that the coaching staff would want to put its best players, so maybe he's just not right. I mean,
perhaps
who the heck knows?
Well, we can get into it in just a sec here. Any final thoughts on this game before we get into game balls and jock straps? Did you get any feeling from this one?
No, just I felt like we would, I had us losing. I predicted us losing this game because I didn't have a lot of faith in this team. But, it was nice to get back in the winning circle, right? It was nice to have that feeling again that, hey, you know what? We're close to 500. I think we're 7-8 right now. With the win in Cleveland, we get back to 500, which is huge. So, we got a lot to play for, right? Still, we got potential playoffs. We got pride. We have another winning record that'll give Mike McDaniel a winning record in all of his seasons. So
I want to talk about that after this game ball to jock straps. I really do, because I think that could be a negative too. Just a reminder, though, I do have the scores from last week. Of course, the closest score was True Fin Fan, but in the wrong direction. But True Fin Fan, myself, and you all had San Francisco winning this game in some capacity. Keith picked Miami. He was the only one to pick Miami. But in true Fin Fan fashion, 26-13 was the score.
Wow, really?
29-17 was the final.
Good for him.
Within 5 on each one. I mean, if Vegas odds gave you like some leeway, it'd be pretty good.
I'll tell you what, to every one of our fans that are listening and everyone in the chat, pay attention to what True Fin Fan says on his predictions, because I'll tell you, I want to go back at the end of the season and look at how close he's been. Close in just about every one of them. Yeah.
He's not here tonight, it appears, but he will comment on the video and he will say what his prediction is. I can guarantee it. And it's going to be close. It's going to be close. All right. On to what some are calling the greatest segment in all of sports media history. That some is Josh.
This guy.
Why is this camera so weird? Okay, bye.
Now it's time for the greatest segment in all of sports media. Game balls and jock straps.
The jock strap is too much.
Dude. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever.
It's probably some expensive brand too. I don't know what Park and Ronin is, but I could just imagine this thing is expensive.
Hey, only the best for our shitty players.
Only the best. All right, let's start with jock straps. Why the heck not? We always start with game balls. Let's switch it up a little bit. We'll start with some jock straps. You go ahead.
Yeah, so Jordan Poyer, for those that are new to the show or those that are new to listening to this at a later TBD date, Jordan Poyer's in my doghouse for the rest of the season. He is my proverbial jockstrap for the rest of the season and next year if he's on the team for some god awful reason. Statistically, you look at his yearly or his season totals. I mean, you would think he's having a really good year, right? He's one of the top tacklers total from a count standpoint. It doesn't tell the whole story, right? Jordan Poyer consistently gets run over, consistently gets blown by in coverages, consistently takes the wrong angles, or is basically out of position. And it happened in this game a lot, right? I mean, I know he was like third or fourth on the team in tackles, but
that's because he's always chasing after them.
Exactly, right? And here's my thing with Jordan Poyer, right? And I know I'm beating the horse with the stick here, or the dead horse. I shouldn't beat a live horse. I'm beating the dead horse with a stick. Well, I shouldn't beat any horse. Anyways,
don't beat any horses.
Yeah, right. I know I'm a monster, but this is something that really put a taste in my mouth in the preseason, right? He came in the building. Came in cocky, which I kind of loved, right? I mean, he came from a Buffalo defense that was just owned us every time we played them, and said something that really kind of irked me to a point where I haven't liked him since. He came in and said, you know what? Everyone around the league, when we play the Miami Dolphins, we know that they're a soft team. And I was like, okay, I hate that, but hey, show us, right? Maybe you can lead this defense as a veteran presence and do something about that. And he has been the polar opposite, right? He's been the weak link. He's been the soft one. He's getting run over by, Tyreek Hill-esque wide receivers. It's, and in this game, yes, he had a good play here and there. Great. He stopped just one. Oh, just one. Sorry.
One good play.
But just not good. And it's not just him, right? And Anthony, I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder on the safety conversation, and I apologize, but if I am. But the safety room as a whole has not been good, not only in this game, because none of them were good, right? I mean, Holland almost had a pick. Isn't that kind of typical of Holland, right? Almost having a pick, right? Because he can't catch.
He's almost a good safety.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really hope that we don't see any of the safety room back next year. That's how bad they are. Holland's going to want an obscene amount of money. You just don't pay him that kind of money because he's not that good, right? Poyer needs to go retire somewhere else. I don't care what he does. Just don't do it on my team.
He'll find a job somewhere too.
He will, which is fine. Let him go play for someone else. I mean, that's just one player we don't have to worry about. But yeah, the safeties as a whole really struggled in this game, and it was tough to watch, man.
Yeah, my favorite Jordan Poyer play this whole game was towards the end where it was a short out to Kittle, and Poyer gets the tackle, but then realizes, oh man, I should have stayed on top of him to kind of drain the clock a little bit, and tries to get back on top of him. And George is just like he just tosses him off like he's a fly. Like, this guy's so bad, he doesn't even have the situational awareness to know to try to delay the game until it's too late. You can't even fail correctly, Jordan Poyer.
No, no, it's bad, man. It really is. And all joking aside, right? I mean, I know it's getting comical at this point, right? Because I always pick him for my Josh Strapp, and we always talk about how bad he is. But I mean, like, the fall off. I mean, he wasn't good last year for Buffalo, right? But he's 7 steps behind on everything, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, my jockstrap rolls right into that. It's Javon Holland. I mean, it's it. Like you mentioned it before. You mentioned in past episodes where we've had him as the jockstrap. It's like, if this is how you're performing in a contract year at 24 years old, how are you going to perform when you get the money?
Right.
Like, you could have made yourself the highest paid safety in the NFL if you had a good season this year.
And we would have paid you.
Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah.
Right. But instead, you have not only put up your worst performance statistically, but on film, I cannot imagine defensive coordinators are watching this season and going, that guy, he's
a guy.
He's got something special.
Hey.
That guy right there. That guy getting beat on every single play that comes his way. Can't get a tackle worth his life because he tries to arm tackle every player that comes his way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not much to say. I think it's very well documented at this point. If you've been watching any Dolphins football this year, even as a casual fan, it's hard to miss how poorly the safety room has played.
As a whole, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to be the last line of defense, and we're consistently getting hit by deep plays.
Yep.
And not even not in the air deep. Like, they caught the ball at the 7 and they ran it for 15 more yards because the safety can't tackle kind of deep.
Yep.
Like from a deep ball perspective, we've been good. Like, we haven't let up the deep ball that often.
Except for when Ramsey got roasted by a rookie.
Well, unless it's one-on-one against Jalen Ramsey, then that's a win. As long as it's a rookie wide receiver against Jalen Ramsey one-on-one, that's the recipe for success. If you want to make millions, just do that. But yeah, I think it's been atrocious. I mean, they just can't tackle, and that you're the last people to tackle.
Like, yeah, and when they're not whiffing on tackles or trying to arm tackling or getting run over completely and put in their place, you can tell the mental lapse. Like, I think that's what's frustrating the most for me, right? Because Javon Holland, the previous couple of years, he was not only physical, he was smart. He was always making the right decision. He knew when to blitz the line in the hole. He knew when to drop in coverage. He knew how to pass things off. There is a true visual regression by Javon Holland that is astounding to me. Because look, last year I thought, I mean, statistically he was one of the top 5 safeties in the league, right? The year before that, his rookie year, I think it was a rookie year 2 years ago.
I think so, yeah.
Still, as a rookie, one of the top 7-8 safeties in the league. This year, I think he's ranked like 88th or something like that. Good. That's not good. It's really it's horrible. And honorable mention goes to Tyreek Hill. I think I'm gonna speak for Keith and say that would have been his, jock strap, because when you're making $50-60 million, dude, catch this is a family friendly show, but catch the ball, right? For the love of Christ.
He ended up with 3 for 29 and a touchdown, but he potentially had 7 for
3 touchdowns and
for 3 touchdowns, and I would say 85 to 100 yards, somewhere in that range. So fantasy players out there who are annoyed that Tyreek Hill had another down day, he's the only one to blame.
This guy. Yeah.
Stop blaming Tua. You're clearly not watching the game.
Yeah. Well, I had both of them, so it was frustrating. Double.
That's rough. All right, let's move on to just talking about this team a little bit here. We sit at 7-8.
We forgot about game balls, brother.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot about game balls.
Hey, we got to go to the positives before we move on.
Thanks for the reminder. Yes, we don't want to be all negative. Let's go to the positive. Let's go to game balls. I'll start. I got to give it to my boy Achan. He is the offense. He is the team. He's the heart. He's so good, man. Like, a few weeks ago, you asked for comparisons, and I said he reminded me a lot of CMC. And then I expected a lot of backlash. I didn't get a lot of backlash, but we're not a big show yet. If we were bigger, I would have got a ton. And I felt a little bit silly making that comparison just because CMC is really, really good. But as the season has progressed from that time to now, I feel like he's only proven my point. I mean, he has 76 catches this year.
It's wild, dude.
He's absolutely, unequivocally our offense. He is the main piece. It's not Tyreek. It's not Jalen Waddle who missed this game. It's Devon Achane. The offense is built around him.
I thought it was River Craycraft. I apologize.
Well, River Craycraft can't catch a cold, so it ain't him. No, but in this game, 6 catches, 70 yards. He had 17 carries for 120 yards. He had a touchdown, and all around. I mean, so what is that? 190 yards
almost
from
200
scrimmage.
Yards of total offense.
Almost 200 yards from scrimmage. There's not much else to say about it. Like, if you haven't watched a Dolphins game in a while and you don't really know who Achane is, just go watch pretty much any of the games this season.
This is the game, though. This was a game to go watch him, right? I mean, go watch him last year because he was having a historical year, right, for a rookie. But this game showed everything. Receiving, outside run, inside run, breaking tackles. I think he stiff-armed someone into the ground, which is awesome.
It gives me relief, too, because I really thought, and maybe Mostert did this to himself, but I really thought this coaching staff would stubbornly just keep sticking with Mostert.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like Mostert. He had an amazing season last year. Probably will end up being his best season, his best career year.
Not even close.
In his life, right? Mm-hmm. But like, you could see is another level when Achane entered last year.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was averaging like 10 yards a carry. You were only giving him the ball 4 or 5 times a game, and he was scoring touchdowns with it. It's
Could you imagine this team with Ashton Gentry, the Boise State running back? Like,
I don't even know who that is. So no,
he like broke, I think, Barry Sanders' rushing college record.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the dude is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But he's like massive, right? He's like 230.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not really.
I mean, I don't know if we're gonna draft another running back, but let's go. Let's do it. Listen, I just think Devon Achane is. I mean, 190 yards from scrimmage. Come on, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. I think we got to keep getting him the ball. I don't know if he got it more in the passing game just because Waddle was out. I have no idea, but clearly it worked. Getting him out, I really thought getting him out running real routes helped with the screen passes too, because they couldn't be like, oh, Achane is lined up wide. Let's go bump him because he's not going to run a route. Like, it completely changed the dynamic because now all of a sudden Achane's running a route, right? Like,
yeah, he's the wide receiver.
Right. Like, yeah, sure, go bump him, but then you're leaving him wide open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As soon as he gets around you, if he can get around you, he's a running back, still not a wide receiver. But
we've said it on the show, even when Waddle's in there, why are you not spreading things out?
Yeah.
Right. We're doing the screen game as an extension of the run. Like, I don't know, being repetitive here, but put them out, spread everything out, and let your players play.
This entire season, we've been desperate for a wide receiver 3. I truly believe you could put Mostert and Wright in the backfield and have Achane line up as your wide receiver 3.
100%.
On even if you just did it on passing downs, who cares if the defense catches on? You got 3 speedsters that they're not going to keep up with. Like, nobody has 3 corners in the NFL that can keep up with those 3 guys.
No, right? Put him in. He'd be an amazing slot receiver in my opinion. Like, in this offense, it would be awesome.
Yeah, but that's my guy. Achane, this isn't the first time he's gotten a game ball from me, and it probably won't be the last.
No, he's gotten quite a few this year from you, I believe, and rightfully so, right? Because to your point, he's our entire offense, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's he on the season? Does he have 1,000 yards rushing yet? No, 761. So he will need to have like some epic games to break 1,000 yards. But
what is he at? What is he receiving? So what are his rushing and receiving totals?
761 rushing, 579 receiving. So he is
over
at
about
1,300 total yards this year.
Perfect. Right. I mean, he's not, and for how he's built, that's all you want, right? He's not
only 182 rushes. I mean, I feel like Derrick Henry had that by week 3.
Right, but in context, right? So he's not built like a Saquon or a Derrick Henry, and he's doing things in this offense, and we are scheming for him to put him in positions to win, and he's winning, which is more than we can say for Tyreek Hill, more than we can say for Jalen Waddle in some cases. And it's just nice to have a player that you can count on, right? Between him and Jonnu Smith, you can tell that those two are the primary and secondary reads. At least that's what it seems over the last couple of games, instead of our over $80 million 2 wide receivers, which is devastating.
I mean, 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns is a heck of a sophomore season, and it's still 2 games to go.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. My game ball goes to Mr. Jonnu Smith himself, right? Mr. New franchise record holder in 2 very important categories when it comes to the tight end position, right? So on the season and after this game, Jonnu has 76 receptions for 802 total yards as a tight end. That breaks Randy McMichael's franchise records of 73 catches and 791 yards.
Randy McMichael is our franchise leading tight end. Now we have not had some very good tight ends. Huh?
No, well, I mean, we've had some good ones. They just haven't been very productive.
Not statistically good, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I think people crap all over Anthony Fasano, but I thought he was a damn good wide receiver and a really good blocker. But I was a big Randy McMichael fan, right? Back in 2004 is when he set these franchise records. So it's been 20 years that those have held. And if you look at the players that we've had at the position, it's shocking that those have held for so long, right? I mean, Gesicki was, for everything he wasn't, was a 6'5", 6'6", 6'9", whatever the hell he was.
It's what he was supposed to be. Like what Jonnu has
Right?
been this year is what Gesicki was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just never.
But it's, Jonnu has been a breath of fresh air, and I think it's even more sweet because one of my brothers, right? He's not my blood brother, but we're close enough to where our families call the other their kid, is a massive Patriots fan. And when we signed him, he reached out and said, "Good riddance, enjoy him. Maybe you can turn him into something." He didn't do crap for us when we signed him and Hunter Henry together. And then he went to Atlanta and had a really good season last year, and then came to us, and he is everything that he was touted, everything. He picked right back up from where he was in Atlanta. And I would really genuinely love to see this team re-sign him, and he be our tight end for as long as he wants to be.
Yeah, I'd love to see him retire a Dolphin, honestly. I mean, he's 31 right now, so probably realistically 2 or 3 years left.
Perfect.
Right. Give him a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
If he
and he's
retires
a really
earlier,
good blocker, right?
Right. I mean, to have a guy, this is exactly what McDaniel's been looking for since he joined the team. He wants a guy who can block and catch, and Jonnu is that.
And I think the way this offense is built, I think it allows us then to have the serious conversation of should Tyreek be moved? And I think yes. I don't think that is not an indictment on Tyreek. I think Tyreek is still a very good top 10, top 15 type NFL player, right? Mm-hmm. But you can tell something's wrong, right? He's when you have more kids, and we said this last show, when you have more kids in a season than touchdowns, you have a problem. I'm not saying you're it's not about priorities like that. You can do family and football. Like I believe that, but you can tell his head's somewhere else when he's dropping passes and he's running the wrong, consistently documented running wrong routes. Mm-hmm. But you're paying him whatever the hell we're paying, like 40, 30 million or whatever it is. Like
a lot.
You can't too much, right? You can't do that. And I'm again, not saying he's bad, not saying he's taken a step back. He's still one of the fastest people, if not the fastest person, in the league. He was rated as the number one player by his peers in the offseason in the NFL, which is crazy to me that, this is the product on the field does not match what the offseason indicated. And with Jonnu's emergence and Achan's emergence and us re-signing Waddle, do we really need a $30 million wide receiver that's 5'2"? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know we talk about that a lot, and he earned that contract, right? I mean, 119 catches 2 years in a row, 1,700 yards, like the whole shebang. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he was worth the trade just from his first 2 years, right?
100%. Yeah.
But at this stage, and this slides nicely into our next segment, it's like at this stage, is he needed anymore? Like, and is this overreaction to a down year? I think these are things we'll ask ourselves a lot this offseason. Like, is this an overreaction to a down year? Like, and it's not just a down year. His production is about half of what it was the first 2 seasons. And he only lost Tua for 4 games. So a quarter production down, that would make sense. Half?
Yeah.
And I get it. People are always like, well, they're playing too high safeties, blah, blah. Okay. So is it a coaching problem? Is it a quarterback problem? Like, other receivers in the NFL who are the number one wide receiver are still finding ways to get open.
Too high coverage.
Too high coverage. Are you telling me they're not playing too high against the Bengals? Because I bet they are. Or probably not against the Cowboys now, but against the Cowboys when they had Dak, I bet they were.
I mean, but look at what all of the receivers that you could mention, the DKs, the Chases, the T Higgins, right? The CeeDee Lambs, the Justin Jeffersons, pick a very good wide receiver in this league.
Yeah.
And what do they have that Tyreek Hill doesn't?
Height.
What do we lack on offense? Height. Right?
The move to me was confusing when we made it. Is despite being incredibly excited about the move, it was confusing because they essentially just traded for a better version of Waddle. And I was like, okay, are we going to move Waddle, right? That's obviously the next question on my mind is, well, it would make sense to move him now because why do we need 2 of the receivers who fit the same role?
Right.
And then we don't move Waddle. and you see Waddle's production go way down. Why? Because Tyreek Hill took his spot. I mean, when you see Malik Washington out there, I feel like he compliments Tyreek better than Waddle does.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even really largely involved in it either in the offense. But
he also had a really good game in San Francisco. Yeah.
He did. He's starting to pick up. He only 3 for 28 in this game, but you're starting to see him make more plays. But again, though, 5'8", 191, right? Like, I am not the person who believes you still win with size, but I think you need variety in what you have. And okay, we took that kid Eric Ezukama. I don't know if he was drafted or undrafted, whatever.
He was drafted. I think he was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, or 4th round.
I think he was later than that. Yeah, but whatever. So we got the tall kid Ezukama. We see him in preseason. He looks great. We never see him again. Obviously, he's not picking up the playbook or something that the coaching staff wants him to do. He's obviously not doing it. It's things that we don't get to see, right? We bring in Odell. Terrible. We're bringing Robbie Chosen. Terrible. Could have told you both of those, right?
Well, I was finally when we signed him. I thought there was a spark there, right? Because in Baltimore, he was okay. Yeah. That's all we needed him to be okay. And he was the furthest thing from okay.
Terrible. So then Jonnu fits it, though. Jonnu fits what we need, the height here. But I still think we need – I would love to see us draft a receiver. I really would. But I think we have to move on from Tyreek if we're going to do that.
Or even move Tyreek and take 70% of his contract and give it to someone like T. Higgins, for example. You still have the speed. You have the height. You have a veteran.
Or maybe they move Waddle and they decide to keep Tyreek and then bring in somebody. I don't know.
You can't do that. If they did that, I don't know if I would be a fan of this team anymore.
I mean,
or I still would be, but I would be really pissed.
If you're looking at the side-by-side production-wise, who's the most likely they're going to move, right?
Well, look at the dollar value and look at the age, right? Players are depreciating values once they hit 30.
Yeah, but Waddle just signed a big contract too. Not as big as Tyreek's.
I mean, not even close, right?
Yeah, but it's still a not. It's like he's like one of the highest paid second wide receivers in the league. So it's
about to be the first number 1 wide receiver on this offense, in my opinion, because I really do think that we should get what we can for Hill. Because I do think there is a team out there, probably someone like Dallas, for example, someone like Houston, for example, someone like that has a plethora of draft picks that we could get. Maybe a late 1, maybe day 2 and a pick swap, and like a 2nd round and a pick swap 5th for a 6th or something like that. I mean,
I'll tell you exactly who we trade him to, and this is largely dependent on if they hire who I think they hire as the coach, and I think that's Las Vegas. If Deion Sanders ends up going to Las Vegas and they want this big, flashy product on the field.
Is there rumors that that's a thing?
Mm-hmm. Because they think Shador is going to go to them first, and then Deion would go with him. I don't think any of that makes any sense. It's not going to make the franchise better, but what other franchise in the league would do that? Yeah, right?
At this point, I don't care who. Just don't trade them in the AFC East. Other than that, whoever gives you the best value, right?
So it brings up another interesting thing I wanted to talk about. We seem pretty poised here to win the remaining games in our schedule.
I think
the Jets game will be
right.
We'll be 9-8 if we win both.
Yeah.
The Jets game is going to be tougher, I think, than anybody imagines. Even though that team looks rough,
they're still the Jets.
They still have talent. It's still a division game. It's the final week of the year. Would they love to beat us? And if we're 8-8 going in, would they love to make us sub 500? Of course they would.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, we should handle. We'll talk about them a little bit more because we actually, we get to play them here this weekend. One of the few Sunday games because there's games like every day this week. There's one starting here in 10 minutes. Is it a good thing or a bad thing if Mike McDaniel gets another winning season under his belt?
Well, I think, as a fan, and this is a very unfortunate, point here, right? That a lot of fans on social media say, well, we should lose because we want a better draft pick. Well, that's just not reality. And you, as a fan, you should never want your team to lose. You should never be rooting for, and I'm not saying that we on the show are rooting for our team to lose, but I do think that it brings up a good question, right? I mean, if we win out, which we both, and I don't mean to speak for you, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, we want to win games.
Yes.
It would be great as fans for our team to have a winning record. But with that comes a third winning record for a head coach in an arguably down year with an injured quarterback and so on and so forth. And as someone that believes there needs to be accountability and there needs to be change within this organization, not just from a player standpoint, as in the safety rooms and some of the wide receivers and things that we've already discussed, and some getting rid of some people in the backfield and so on and so forth, maybe a better backup quarterback, for example. But there also needs to be accountability and there needs to be change in the front office. Is that Mike McDaniel? Is that Chris Grier? Is it both? Is it one? I don't know, right? But I can tell you that I think it starts with Grier. There needs to be accountability. There were so many things that went wrong this season from a personnel standpoint, from a play calling standpoint, from a players being ready to put a product on the field that is palatable to the eyes, even.
Yep.
Right. And there needs to be some accountability from ownership. Right. And I think it is much easier. I don't know a better way of saying this, but I think it is much easier to replace a GM, or I'm sorry, much harder to replace a GM than it is a head coach. So I think you have to start there, right? Because with a new GM comes fresh eyes on something. I mean, Grier has been in this position, what? 25, 20, we looked it up, 27, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
There is a stagnant,
not in this position, but in this,
in the
scouting department.
Right. Yeah. There is a stagnation, if you will, in that realm of GM and scouting. And there just needs to be fresh eyes, right? Fresh perspective. And I think it's hard to fill that role. So you have to start there. So if I was Ross, I'm getting rid of Grier. Now, I think Grier has done quite a lot of great things. I am higher on Grier than most. But this year, he single-handedly, for the most part, failed this team. Mm-hmm. Right? And I don't think you can let Mike McDaniel go until you have a replacement for Chris Grier. Because what if the new GM wants to give him a chance? Because the questions can be asked. I mean, Anthony, I'll ask you. I'll switch it around to you. Has Mike McDaniel done enough to deserve, and albeit a shorter leash than most, but has he done enough, assuming we went out? That's 3 winning records with 2 playoff appearances in his first 3 years, or 3 winning seasons with 2 playoff appearances in his first 3 years. Do you think that he's done enough to warrant another year as a head coach? Or do you think that he's royally screwed up quite a lot, from play calling to play design to personnel choices and so on and so forth, that he needs to be gone?
I think he needs to be gone.
Yeah.
And here's why. Because we haven't beaten anybody of substance. We beat Jacksonville, New England twice, the Rams, the Raiders, and now the Jets. And it took overtime to beat the Jets, and now the 49ers, who are a shell of their Super Bowl selves.
Yeah.
If we had won one of the games against Buffalo, if we upset Green Bay, or at least played them well, if we beat Houston last week even, I would have felt better about it. But if you can't beat a good team, then you're not the guy. And in 3 years that he's been here, he has not beaten a single good team.
What are we like? What I saw it, and it was like staggering to me. It was like 1 in 17
against winning records. And I think the one team we did beat with a winning record was like barely winning. Like,
it was the Cowboys.
Right. Yeah. Which is
the
same team as us, essentially.
Yeah.
I am not a guy who likes to get rid of coaches early. I do think every coach should have at least 3 years. These teams that do the one and done, I think that's ridiculous. How does the coach get 1 year? But we've seen 3 years now. So in year 1, you're like, okay, he did good things with this team. We have an offense finally. We didn't
revitalize
get the big win.
Tua's career. I mean, that's huge. Right.
Revitalize Tua's career. That's my big concern. It's like what happens with Tua. But you can't keep that holding on to a coach forever, right? Like we saw this in Cincinnati with Lewis, right? Marvin Lewis. Yeah, Marvin Lewis was a good coach, but a good coach, not a great coach, not a
Yeah.
coach that gets them over the hump, not a coach that gets them to the Super Bowl. He had a winning record every single year. Good job, bud. He never won a playoff game. Like, we're in that same boat. If we can't beat a winning team in the regular season, what hope do we have in the playoffs?
Yeah.
So, like, if the game looked good this year, right? If the team looked good, if when we lost Tua, he had like this simplified game plan where he came out and things were looking good. We were focusing on the run, we were focusing on the defense, but it was the opposite. We came out trying to run the same offense that Tua runs with our backup quarterback.
Yeah. And the whole backup quarterback conversation, like that was a Mike McDaniel choice.
Yep.
You actively chose Skylar Thompson. You saw him for 3 years and you said, this is the guy. Like,
and yeah. And to your point, Chris Greer needs to say no.
Yeah.
I get that you're a coach's GM, but like if you are seeing Skylar the same as your coach is seeing Skylar, this guy, there's no way he looked good in practice. There's no way. Because he looked terrible in the preseason.
Yeah. And he looked absolutely god awful in the games that he played.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
he finally gets to play. He gets injured. So we have to get Snoop Huntley. And then they end up cutting him anyways. It took all the way to last week they finally cut him?
Yeah, but then they
re-signed him to the practice squad.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What does this guy have on you? Yeah, I was about to pull this up.
And
I want to comment.
That's part of it. Do you want these guys handling the draft?
Well, yeah, and it's not only that, but also and welcome. I think you're new to the show, so thank you for joining. I don't recognize your handle, but here's my big thing. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name here. But okay, run it back with both of these guys on hot seats, short leashes, however you want to word it. But we've said it on the last couple shows. But then you're risking. So assuming worst case scenario, right? So we bring them back and they're both on really short leash, thin ice, hot seats, whatever terminology you want to use. And we let them both go mid-season. Let's just say they get to the midpoint of the season and we let them go. Now we're sacrificing a season. We're sacrificing the rest of the season, right? Because you can't make a hire. You got to put an interim, whether it's Weaver, whether it's someone else, and who the hell knows what happens. So does it make more sense to, and Anthony, you and I have talked about this quite a lot on the shows with Keith and Steve before he sadly departed our show. Does it make sense if you know that they're going to be on the hot seat? Right. Does it make sense to just cut bait in the off season and make the hires so that you're not sacrificing another season as opposed to going in and saying, okay, well, there's a 50-50 shot that they're going to get let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And my opinion on that. I think, like what are the Jaguars this year? You kept Doug Peterson. You guys started 0-20, whatever. You cut him mid-season. What does that buy you, right? The Saints got Darren Rizzi down there coaching. Like we just got smoked.
Well, I would take him over our special teams guy right now.
Well, yeah, but he's coaching, he's coaching the head. Is the head coach?
I know.
Teams
I just loved Rizzi as our special teams coordinator, man.
And I do want to make sure that I point out that these are our opinions just on what we would like to see happen, not what we think is going to happen.
Good call.
I think if we're being real with ourselves, we don't see either of these guys going anywhere. But how long do you do this?
Yeah. I mean, how much is enough, right? I mean, the definition of insanity is you're doing the same thing, expecting different results. And it's been, how long has Greer been a GM? I don't know if you have it in front of you. I don't
know that. No.
It's been
plenty of time. Both regimes. Both Flores and McDaniel regime, at least.
Yep. And before that too. I mean, I think he's been 3 regimes now, call it. You have not been successful, right? You've brought in some decent players.
Yeah.
You've brought in some great players, but you've swung and missed on quite a few. And when you have the draft, and I'm focusing on Greer for this part, when you've had the draft capital that we've had, right? He's made some amazing trades. I mean, that Tunsil trade was brilliant. I mean, that was
but then he did nothing with it, right?
Well, that's my point, right? Yeah. Those were franchise altering crossroads, right? you did the thing. You did the hard thing in getting someone to give up what they did for Tunsil, for example, right?
Yeah.
And you did nothing with it.
Well, I think part of that problem was that he used that draft capital to then go ahead and trade for other guys who are already superstars, which I'm okay with that.
Me too.
But you traded for an often injured Bradley Chubb, and shocker, what happened? He got injured again.
Yep.
He played for us for, I don't even know if he got a full season in.
Well,
right?
yeah, last year he was a stud until he blew out every part of his knee that could be blown out.
Yeah. And then you trade for Tyreek, which I am still a staunch supporter of that trade.
100%.
Because he had back-to-back 1,700-yard season. We haven't seen a wide receiver like that in a Dolphins uniform in forever.
I don't know if we have.
But was the timing correct? Were we a Super Bowl team when you made that Super Bowl trade? Right? That's a trade you make if you are one player away, because he's 30 years old already by the time we make that trade.
Mm-hmm.
So were we one player away on offense from going to the Super Bowl?
I mean, look, I think if you would have asked me that back then, I said I thought going into last year and going into this year that we were Super Bowl contenders.
We won 10 straight games last year to end the season.
It did not pan out that way.
No.
Right? But what I'm saying is that, these were very good teams that Chris Greer had a hand in putting together. I liked the Jalen Ramsey trade. I thought that was a tone setter on the side of the ball that was weak, that was soft, if you will, right?
Yeah.
But you use some of that draft capital from various trades to fortify your team with skilled veteran talent that plays at a high level. But what you did in the draft to supplement your team for the future was atrocious. You hit on Tua. I'm a Tua guy. I'm sorry for those that are, that are on here that aren't Tua. I'm a Tua guy. I love Tua. I think he's a franchise quarterback. Anthony, I know you agree with that as well.
Yep.
But I think, other than Tua and Waddle and Achane, and then, Christian Wilkins and Rob Hunt, who are no longer on the team, I agree. You don't pay those guys $100 million. I'm sorry. I don't care how good they are. They don't have the production to warrant that kind of money. Other than that, who have they brought in that has been good?
I mean,
who?
I truthfully don't think the drafts have been that bad. There's certain picks that stick in our minds more because they're so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we take Tua and Austin Jackson in that 2020 draft, right, to start. And that's great start.
Mm-hmm.
And then we take Noah Igbenogany.
We trade up. We trade up into the first
nobody
round.
even had, as a day 2 pick on their board, let alone a day 1 pick.
Yeah.
Why the hell did you feel the need to take Noah Igbenogany there, right?
Yeah, I don't know, man. And then you pass on Darnell Washington, the tall tight end that Pitt. Now he hasn't done much in Pittsburgh, but at a point in time when we needed a tight end, he fell to you in the second round. You didn't take. I mean, they're just
So I'm looking. Listen, I'm looking. Greer has, in my opinion, way more hits than he has misses, but the misses are so bad. Charles Harris in 2017. Why?
Deion Jordan. I think he wasn't the GM for the Deion Jordan. Or was that Dennis Hickey?
Deion Jordan was in 2013. I don't think he was GM just yet.
I won't.
Yeah, I don't think
crap in his Cheerios for that then.
Yeah, but but even how they handled certain situations, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's a home run draft pick.
Sure is.
Trade him a year later.
Yeah, because he's unhappy.
Because he doesn't like the coach, who then you end up getting rid of the next year.
Look what he's been doing in Pittsburgh. He's an all-pro.
Superstar. Yeah. It's surprising how many good picks we have here. I'll just say that. Christian Wilkins in the first, Andrew Van Ginkel in the 5th. What a home run, right?
Yeah. Chris Greer has been a statistically a very good late round drafter. In the 4th, 5th, and 6th and 7th rounds, he's got some crazy hits. But in the rounds where it should be easy, he swings and misses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he used 2 first-round picks on Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips, which are both, in our minds, very good picks.
Mm-hmm.
But Phillips can't stay healthy, and Waddle, you ended up trading for a guy who fills the same role, so you've essentially made him virtually irrelevant
Right.
via trade, right?
Yeah.
The next year we don't even have first. We don't have any picks in that 2022 draft. I guess they didn't like anybody in that draft.
No, we traded for Ramsey, and we had 2 firsts, I think, and we traded for Ramsey and for Chubb, didn't we? Or
Okay.
like
Well,
that
we had a
was
third. Our
like
first
that.
pick was a 3rd round pick for Channing Tindall, who is still on a milk carton out there.
Yeah.
Eric Ezukanma, who, as we just mentioned before, 4th round pick, who's barely seen the field. And then we grabbed a pair of 7th round picks called Cameron Good and Skylar Thompson, who were useless. Cam Smith in the 2nd round of 2023. We've yet to see him be anything. But Achane in the 3rd, home run.
That was a home run. That was a home run.
And then Chop and Patrick Paul looks. I don't have time to go through every pick there, but those who are Greer supporters will point to all of those draft picks I just mentioned. Those who are Greer opposers will point to all of the missed picks in between those picks.
And not just picks, though, right? I mean, it's free agent signings. It's
Yes.
retaining players.
Yep.
It's overpaying players. It's not paying players, and it's so much.
I mean, the Come to Sue deal was atrocious. I don't know if that was Greer or not, but yeah. All right. Well, we have plenty of offseason to talk about this more. I definitely wanted to kind of just do a preview of, like, do we want them to win, right? I think I'm of the opinion that in my mind, I don't want to make the playoffs, right? Because we end up getting a worse draft pick for no reason because we're just going to get blown out.
Yeah.
In my heart, I don't want to see them lose a game ever. So it's a very conflicting idea there because I feel like, once you make the playoffs, like you automatically skip all the records and you're shelled into those playoff teams at the bottom of the draft. So even if we're only 9-8 and theoretically there's teams that are drafting above us with better records because we get slotted with the playoff teams. And that is annoying to me.
Well, I guess the real question is, right? And I think this is where and I'm 1000% agree. My head says, you know what? It would be not okay if we lost, but I want a better draft pick. My heart is like, dude, I never want us to lose. I want us to win every game. So, but I will say this. I think the question should be asked, and I'll ask you this, and I won't spend time answering it, but if we win out and if all of the stars align and the teams that we need to lose, and we somehow make it into the playoffs, do you have, and we're, once you're in the playoffs, it's a win and go home, anything can happen any given Sunday, all of the catchy Hollywood movie phrases, right? Do you honestly, in your gut, think that we could do anything or will do anything in the playoffs should we make it?
I mean, we play Buffalo if we make it, so no.
Right? I mean, and that's the harsh reality, right? It's like, hey, great, okay, cool. I want us to win out because I'm a Dolphins fan. I bleed this team, right?
Sure.
Great. What does it get us?
I mean, at least it's a division game, and it potentially could be close, but it's in Buffalo. Josh Allen is playing like a monster right now. Like if you're talking about momentum, we have no momentum compared to them. Like it's just, they may as well just bring out a steamroller and crush all our players because that's essentially what's going to happen. Just clean us all up. All right. Yeah. So a little bit of a preview of what our off-season show will look like, except it'll be much more organized and flowed. Structured. That's the word I'm looking for.
Flowed. I like it. Flowed.
Flowed works better, right?
We are professionals, ladies and gentlemen.
Professionals. Just not at podcasting.
Yeah, we're professionals in the IT space. Excuse me.
All right. Let's move on. We're hour 18, so I didn't leave too much time for the Browns, but how much time do you honestly need? We're heading We're headed up to Cleveland. To play let me see if I can find the record very quickly so I look professional. 3-12 Cleveland Browns, who
depleted
I mean, we were just looking at their injury list, and it's a mile long. It's honestly longer than their roster at this point. They just got smoked by the Bengals 24-6. Prior to that, smoked by the Chiefs 21-7. They're on a 4-game losing streak. They benched Jameis Winston for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who looks
interesting choice.
Awful.
That was an interesting choice. Bless you.
Thank you. honestly, I have no idea. I'm not going to question Stefanski. I think Stefanski's a really good coach. If they get rid of him, there will be teams lining up out the door.
Yeah, us.
We should be one of them. So I'm not going to question him. I think his hand, especially in the Deshaun Watson thing, is really being forced. And I wouldn't blame him if he hopes he gets fired so he can get a chance with a real quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Could you imagine him with this team? Anyways,
incredible.
Sorry.
But yeah, so they lost Chubb. They lost Deshaun Watson. That's actually probably a bonus for them. Jerry Jeudy's playing amazing. Elijah Moore's playing amazing. But now they have Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn out there. No idea. I'm really just fingers crossed that they don't switch back to Jameis before our game. Because I think if they play Jameis, they have a chance. We're not an intercepting team, and that's his problem is interceptions. So
right. We'll get 4 or 5 batted balls, not 4 or 5 interceptions.
Yeah, so I guess Josh, would go to you. What I've laid the groundwork for you. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, honestly, I think if DTR is behind center or under center, I guess is the correct way to say it. I think this is not a close game, right? I think this team has way too many injuries to be competitive, right? But all of that is compounded when you put someone like DTR behind center, under center, as opposed to someone like Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, I'm a Florida State guy. I'm a Florida State grad. So spoiler alert, I'm a big Jameis Winston guy. I was a big fan of his in college. I think he's goofy. I think he's weird, but I like him. Right. And I think, he's when your team has 3 wins, you put a guy in under center that likes to just say, F it. I'm going to chuck it up and see what happens. Right. I mean, you're going to, what do you have to lose? Right. So if I'm running the Browns, DTR is he's there at Skylar Thompson, in my opinion. Right.
Yeah.
I'm putting
Bailey Zappi as well, if that makes you
not any close. Not
lose
any
sleep
better.
at night.
No. And Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, to your point, very good wide receivers, have been very good this year. We're very good with Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
right?
Seth Tillman too. Yeah.
Yeah. And DJ Ford, what's Ford's first name?
Jerome Ford.
Jerome Ford at running back. Serviceable, right? I mean, not a top running back, but very good, can receive, can run, fine, great. I just think they're decimated with injuries, and I just don't. I mean, unless we play down to our competition, and which we do, right? Which is a thing. Yeah. And it's cold, because apparently that's also a thing. I mean, statistically, it's no longer just a hypothetical. We can't play when it's cold.
We can't play in the cold, yeah.
So does that swing the game in their favor? Maybe. But I don't. I think this should be an easy win. I can kind of see it ended up like the San Francisco game, right? Where it's kind of dull, kind of boring. And then one of the quarters that we play, we have a blow up and we score 10, 15, 17 points, whatever it is. And the game's out of reach for them based on whoever they have playing. Yep. But I don't think that this is going to be a fun game to watch. I don't. No.
Especially with snow, and I don't know what the forecast is, but it's a snowy season right now.
Yeah. I would be hilarious if we trotted out our white uniforms in the snow, though.
Oh, that'd be great. They won't know where we are, but neither will to us. So
we can't do that, right? Because that's our home jersey, but it would be fun. But no, I think to answer your question, right? I mean, I think this is a win, but I don't think it's going to be a fun game. I don't think it's convincing, right? I mean, unless you thought the 49ers game was a convincing win. In that case, not you, the royal you, those that are watching, thought that the 49ers game was a convincing win, 29-17. I thought it was a lot closer than that. And I can see this Browns game being real similar.
Yeah, I do think the 49ers game was a 22-17 win, really. That's what it was up until 40 seconds left in the game. So it wasn't a convincing win. And listen, Cleveland's got a lot of Qs on this depth chart right now, a lot of questionable players. Mm-hmm. Potentially Jerry Jeudy could be out. David Njoku could be out.
Well, yeah, he's definitely Njoku's already been ruled out, I believe.
Okay, so Njoku's probably out, which makes Jordan Akins the starting tight end. I think if we're playing the other side, what do the Browns have to do to win? I think they have to get Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong and Dante Foreman going. Mm-hmm. we've been susceptible to the run game, although these past 4 weeks we've actually been really good against it.
We sure have. The tight ends have killed us in just about every game this year. So if Njoku was playing,
anything over the middle, really, teams are starting to see that. You could see the same ball that Tua threw to Achane between the linebacker, the corner, and the safety is where we have been getting killed. Is that our linebackers aren't dropping back far enough, the safeties are dropping back too far, and the corners are in la-la land. And we're just getting hit on those seam routes left and right. So if Dorian Thompson-Robinson's playing, though, I just don't expect him to see that.
No. I mean, I could see him also hurting us with his legs a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that.
He is a relatively decent scrambler, but they don't have good blocking wide receivers, especially if Jerry Jeudy's out.
Yeah.
So
I will say I don't understand the enamor with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I don't understand the need to try to make him work. I don't maybe it's Stefanski's Skylar Thompson. He's just trying to see if he has something there. But
he's been in my system.
Right. I mean, we saw Bailey Zappi play for New England a couple of years. I thought he was better than DTR. And and he wasn't very good either. But
sure wasn't. Although Zappi did have he had those when he was with the Patriots, he had 3 400-yard games in a row or something like that. And then
he was slinging it. Yeah, what he got to lose, man?
Fell off the face of the world.
Both him and Mac Jones, right? I feel like Bill Belichick does not get enough credit for what he got out of that offense because, the next guy who comes in gets nothing. Mac Jones is a backup over in Jacksonville. Billy Zappi's the 4th-string quarterback on Cleveland, and this is who we had at quarterback. But we're not going to give too much credit to Belichick here. We've already had to live through that.
Bye. Go away. Go coach North Carolina.
North Carolina. I largely see this game the same as you. By the way, I think this should be a no contest. I think if it's close, this is just more fuel for the fire on the fire McDaniel bandwagon. I just can't imagine. We are way healthier, way more talented. Even if both teams were 100% healthy, I just can't. I know it's not great analysis to say we're just better, but we are. We're just better.
Yeah. There's only one player on that team that scares the crap out of me, and
that's Myles Garrett. And it's been that way his whole career.
Yeah. And honestly, if this game is going to be close, or if we are going to lose this, it is going to be because he has 7 sacks or something. You know what I mean?
Which I don't think he'll get against Armstead. No. Hopefully. Armstead has had some bad games this year. But
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he would get that with Patrick Paul the way Patrick Paul plays, right? Sure. I think you get that on the other side, maybe, I guess.
Well, we also get rid of the ball just remarkably fast. Yeah. And Tua got back to that against San Francisco. He wasn't holding the ball as much.
So what do you think, in your opinion, yes, this should be a win, right? I think we both agree. What do you think, I don't want to use a coined term, but the keys to victory? What do you think we have to do to win this game, other than our wide receivers actually hold on to a ball?
Yeah, run the ball 30 times again, probably. It's going to be cold, so why are we throwing it so much? We have receivers who aren't used to playing in the cold, and yet we throw the ball 40 times in the cold. It's what are you doing?
Yeah.
That is easily the hardest thing to do, is to catch a giant leather ball that is freezing cold.
Like a cinder block.
Like a cinder block. Yeah. And you're like, let's throw it more. What? Why?
I know.
If we could see 40 runs, I'd be like, get the rotation going. Don't do all Achane. Get the guys going, because that hurts too, right? Nobody wants to get hit in the cold either. So the more you hit this defense, the more run Jalen Wright right into him. I don't care. He's the closest thing we have to a bruiser at running back. Maybe Jeff Wilson too, even though Jeff Wilson's not huge, but he runs like he is.
Yeah. I would like to not see Mostert though, if that makes any sense. I would rather see more of Wright and Achane, that combo.
I think we're going to see more of Mostert though. Just in the commentary of this last game, it seems like he was the squeaky wheel these past few weeks, and what happens there.
Loyalty.
Yeah. I mean, he got 8 carries against San Francisco. Maybe he gets 10 against Cleveland. I think the keys to victory are avoid turnovers, cause turnovers. So win the turnover battle. That's always the key to victory. That's an easy one, right? Rush the ball. If Tua has another 215 in one game, I think we did good. And keep it simple. Like, it's going to be way harder to do, especially if it's slippery. I don't know. Again, I don't know what the weather report is right now, but if it's meant to be slippery, why are you still doing all this motion? Right? Like, let's simplify it. So that would be my keys to the game: is to win the turnover battle, run the ball, and keep it simple.
Yeah, that's there's no other. I have nothing to add to that. Yeah. I mean, again, I want to see a balanced offense, right? I want to see Mike McDaniel just let his players play. Don't be cute. Don't overcomplicate this offense even more than it already is. Yep. And just play football, right? I mean, this is going to be one of those, at least with the weather, one of those really hard games for us to win, right? Because we've said it a million times, and those that are listening that follow this team have heard it a million times. We don't play well in the cold. So, let's put that to rest, ? Even if we win, are we really putting it to rest given the quality of the team we're playing? Probably not, but it's a step in the right direction, right?
And I think it's virtually a primetime game too. We're one of just 2 games that are playing in this time slot.
Oh, okay. So that's not in our favor either because we suck on primetime.
Yeah.
Great. So the Browns enjoy your victory. No I'm kidding. But I think these kind of games are internally for morale. The Browns are a dumpster fire right now, but they're a morale booster. Right. So we're beating a team we should beat. Let's be honest. We should beat the Browns.
Yep.
We're beating a team in the cold weather, which we've historically done horrible in. Yep. And we're quasi primetime, which we've sucked at as of late. And I think this sets. Go ahead.
Yeah. The other game is Packers-Vikings, so nobody's watching the Dolphins game.
No, of course not. No. And we got bumped off. Originally, we're on primetime, weren't we?
Yeah. How did Packers-Vikings not get flexed into primetime? It's Falcons and Commanders.
Who the hell knows? Because they want to see Jaden Daniels probably.
They wanted to see Jaden versus Penix, but still, like Packers-Vikings is way more. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm totally with you. But I think this sets the tone for a potential playoff game in Buffalo. I'm not saying we're going to make playoffs. We've already talked about that. Go back and watch the first half of the show. But, this gets the team mentally ready because that'll be in 3 weeks, essentially, right? So, and the Jets is going to, it's cold here in New Jersey, right? I believe, or up north somewhere.
It was, I'm in New York, but it was 14 degrees.
Yeah. I'm in Connecticut. And it was this, our pipes froze 2 days ago and I had to have the plumber come out. So that was a whole shit show. But it's been a couple days. So that should be a little bit cold as well. So, you're getting your bodies and you're getting your mind ready. So if you have to go to Buffalo to play a playoff game, I'm not saying we're going to win.
Right.
Because we can never beat them, but at least you're not coming from playing 2 like LA games. You know what I mean?
I honestly, I was just thinking, like, if we do make the playoffs, the team I'd want to play is Buffalo. Really? We know them better than anybody else that's going in. They're a division opponent, which we have been known to play tough. Not always, but
Anthony,
sometimes.
I love you to death, but you are batshit crazy if that's the team you want to
who else would you rather play? Do you really want to play Denver? You want to go to Mile High?
Yes.
In the freezing cold? In the
1,000
temperatures?
1,000% yes.
You want to play the Chargers?
Yes. Over Buffalo with the MVP?
I'm not comparing them talent-wise. Buffalo's very clearly way more talented. But like from the aspect that this is a division opponent that we know well, we know them better than anybody.
Do me a favor, please don't ever make our schedules.
I'm just saying. Listen, I still make it better than whoever's making it right now, okay? Because they thought us versus the Jets in Week 18 was going to be for the division.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so
fair. That's a fair
trust
point.
me.
That's a fair point. Look, I think. Look, me personally, I would much rather face a Justin Herbert-led Chargers team or a who the hell is playing for Denver now? Who's their quarterback?
Bo Nix.
Exactly. Over Josh Allen.
I'd probably rather play those quarterbacks. Do I think we'd win those games? No.
Well, I think we'd have a better chance if we're playing Buffalo. Unless Josh Allen dies, I don't think there's a way that we win that game.
It's tough. Yeah, it'll be tough.
Anyways.
Isn't it funny how the NFL works though? Like we're playing Houston and we're thinking to ourselves, we're kind of already out of it, right? Like
Yeah.
if we beat Houston, we have a small chance. But now that we're 2 weeks or we're another week ahead of that, and the teams that we are going against for that final playoff spot have all lost. If we had won the Houston game, we would be a half a game back from the other game.
Yeah. I think we would actually be in the final playoff slot. I think
we would be a half a game back from Denver.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Because they've lost 2 in a row, I'm pretty sure.
What about Indy, though? Because Indy's below Denver, aren't they? Or are they ahead of
Yeah,
Denver?
they're in the hunt with us.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right.
So we're in the hunt.
Yeah.
We're in the hunt with Indy and Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Denver and the Chargers are already in. Pittsburgh clinched, so there's no catching them.
Yeah.
So the last 2 playoff spots are Denver and LA.
So if we win out, do you know what we need off the top of your head?
We need Denver to lose out.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a way we can get in over the Chargers, so for some reason. I don't know if it's strength of schedule or what, but I'm pretty sure we need Denver to lose out.
Oh, we need the Colts to lose too, because they beat us, didn't they?
Correct, and the Colts to lose out, yeah. Or not lose out, just lose 1.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has the least likely chance of making it because they need us and Indy to lose, and they need Denver to lose out.
Think about how crazy that is with the talent that team has.
Yeah, that's
but I will say this, right? Silver lining, put a bow on the show, right? At least the end of our season is interesting, right?
It's something,
right? I mean, we're not look. We have 2 winnable games. That should be fun, right? I mean, it's better than losing, no matter what happens at the end. We have albeit a very slight chance to make the playoffs. Cool. Do I really care? Not really. Because I don't think we're going to do much. But crazy things have happened, right? And I think it's better than being a 3 and whatever team and your season's over. Really, you're just kind of going through the motions and whatever. Like, okay, cool. At least we have something to watch, you know?
Yeah. What's your final score on this one before we wrap it up?
What the hell did I have written down? Hold on. 28-16, Miami.
I took the same exact score of the Cincy game last week, 24-6.
Oh, 6?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I just don't think DTR is doing anything, man.
That would be amazing.
The only way they score a touchdown is if the running back scores.
Well, that's fair. I accounted for like a defensive touchdown in this game.
Yeah, that could happen, especially if Tua throws another one of his lollipops.
Well, I was thinking like a Myles Garrett, like forced fumble recovery, scoop and score kind of thing. But whatever. Like it's gonna not be a fun game to watch.
No, I'm not watching. I'm watching Minnesota Green Bay.
Right. That's so funny.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Of course, follow us on social media. If you don't know, Steve just had a baby and he decided not to come back to the show. So he was running our social media. So we're still trying to figure out who's going to run that now. So follow us on social media, but the best place really to follow us is here on YouTube. We do post messages and we have a video every Wednesday. We are trying to get into the hang of doing Sunday shows, but we have not been notoriously good at it. We've been as good at running Sunday shows as the Dolphins have been at playing in the cold weather.
Yeah. Yep. Hey,
so
you know what? We're Dolphins fans. What do you expect?
We're gonna try to do a show on Sunday, but again, it's a 4:00 game, so it's gonna be a little late for us here on the East Coast. So we'll see what happens. The plan right now is for us to have an 8:00 show on Sunday night. So if you don't feel like watching Commanders versus Falcons and you'd rather talk about the Dolphins instead, join us here on YouTube at the Phins Forecast. Otherwise, we'll see you next Wednesday where we're going to talk about whatever happens in the Cleveland game and then take a look ahead at the Jets game, which is the final week of the season already. What a year.
What a year.
All right, for Aqua Ace, a.k.a. Josh, I'm Anthony. This has been another episode of the Phins Forecast. We will see you next week. Go Phins.
Go Phins.